They called her useless. Until the president called her during training, everyone at Fort Marshall laughed at Private Amina Cole. She was small, quiet, and didn't talk about her past, while the others barked orders, cracked jokes, and competed. For attention, Amina kept to herself, always last in the obstacle course, always silent during break. The other recruits muttered things behind her back. She's not cut out for this, dead weight. Bet she quits before the month's over. Her drill sergeant, Master Gunnery, SGT Knox, had little patience for the weak. He pushed her, harder than anyone. Private Cole, you better shape up or pack your bags. But Amina never broke. She showed up every morning at 4 a.m., boots laced tight, face calm, no complaints. She failed, yes, but she never gave up, and that scared them. One muggy afternoon during live fire simulation training, everything changed. They were crawling under barbed wire when a convoy of black SUVs rolled into the base. Unusual. Everyone paused. A Secret Service agent stepped out and whispered something to Knox. He blinked, looked around, and then shouted, "Cole, step forward." Snickers from the others. What now? She'll lose her rifle again. Amina stood up slowly. She looked confused but followed orders. Then a second man in a suit handed Knox a secure satellite phone. "Private Cole," Knox said, stunned. "You're wanted, ... by the president." Gasps. The entire training field froze. Amina's face went pale. She took the phone. "This is Cole," she said softly. The president's voice boomed through the line everyone close enough could hear. "Agent Cole, your cover's blown. We need you in D.C. immediately. Operation Nightfall is green-lit." Whispers shot through. "The unit like wildfire, Agent? Operation what?" Knox nearly dropped his clipboard. "Yes, sir," Amina replied coolly. She handed the phone back, turned to Knox, and saluted. "Permission to leave, Sergeant. National security." He saluted back stiffly. "Granted." An hour later, a helicopter landed on the parade ground. Amina climbed in without looking back. Some recruits tried to chase after it, shouting apologies. Others just stood there, dumbstruck. Back in Washington, President Reed held a press briefing today. "One of our most decorated covert operatives has been called back into active duty. She operated deep cover to monitor internal vulnerabilities. In our military training programs," he paused, looking into the cameras. "Her name is Amina Cole, and you should never underestimate a woman who keeps getting back up." Continued, "They called her useless. Until the president called her during training back at Fort Marshall. The mood had changed. Master Gunnery, SGT, Knox, called for an emergency debrief. "I need to make something very clear," he said, addressing the now silent platoon. "Private No, Agent Cole was not here just to train. She was sent by the highest level of government to evaluate us. Every test, every failure, was part of her assignment." Someone in the back muttered, "She let herself fail." Knox snapped, "She'll let you win. There's a difference." Private Stevens, the loudest critic of Cole, looked pale. "She was spying on us." "No," Knox said. "She was protecting us from ourselves, watching for corruption, weakness, bad leadership, and she reported directly to the Pentagon." He paused, letting it sink in, and she passed. 6 months earlier, Amina stood before a room of top brass in Langley, Virginia. Former Delta Force, CIA field operative, decorated in secret, her face was calm as General Monroe laid out the mission. "We believe Fort Marshall has been compromised. Someone's leaking sensitive information, possibly grooming recruits for foreign influence." Amina nodded. "You want me to go in blind?" "You'll be Private Cole," Monroe said. "New name, new record, clean slate. Nobody can know who you really are." "And what if they treat me like crap?" she asked. "They will," the general said. "We need to see how deep the rot goes." Back in D.C., Amina arrived at the Situation Room. She hadn't even changed out of her fatigues. A holographic map of an embassy in Northern Europe blinked on the screen. President Reed looked to her. "Our people are trapped. We intercepted chatter of an imminent extraction attempt by rogue operatives, posing as U.S. agents. You know the players? You trained half of them." Amina nodded. "I'll get them out." The room cleared. Only the president stayed behind. He stepped closer. "Amina, I heard what they called you at Fort Marshall." She smirked slightly. "It doesn't bother me." He shook his head. "It should, not for your pride, but for theirs. They don't even realize what it means to carry quiet strength." A week later, headlines roared. U.S. agent leads stealth rescue of captured diplomats. President credits unknown hero for avoiding global crisis. The photo accompanying the story showed a woman walking beside elite commandos, helmet off, eyes forward. The American flag behind her. The same woman who once trailed behind at Fort Marshall, dragging her boots and eating alone. Back at the base, Sergeant Knox gathered the troops again. "Most of you judged Cole because she was quiet, because she didn't play the game, because she failed on purpose. You thought that made her weak." He held up a printed newspaper with her face on it. "That woman just saved a dozen lives. She got a direct call from the Oval Office. And guess what? She still saluted me before she left. That's what real strength looks like." Continued. "They called her useless. Until the president called her during training. In the weeks that followed, Fort Marshall changed recruits, who used to laugh at Amina, started reevaluating everything, especially themselves. No one had ever shaken their world like she did, not with fists or shouting, but with quiet resilience. Private Stevens started staying late after training, pushing himself harder. He stopped mocking the others and began mentoring the slower ones. Private Diaz, once known for bragging, now sat alone, replaying every word he ever said to Amina. In shame.sgt, Knox began implementing new humility drills, reminding everyone the quietest soldier might be the sharpest blade. And deep in the heart of base records, Amina's file was sealed top secret, classified, but a single line was added and read at the bottom: underestimated. Never again. A new class of recruits stood at attention on graduation day. The guest speaker took the podium. A hush fell across the field. It was her, Amina Cole, no longer in uniform now, in a tailored suit, with her old combat boots laced on out of principle. 2 years ago, some of you called me weak, she began, looking straight into the crowd. But I wasn't here to prove myself to you. She walked down the steps and onto the field. I was here to remind you. Strength is not about the loudest voice. It's about knowing who you are when everyone else thinks they already know. A hush, then thunderous applause. She didn't linger. Amina walked off the stage and disappeared again, as quietly as she'd come. Later that night, deep in the Pentagon, the lights were dimmed except for one room. Amina stood over a table with 5 other agents. A black folder lay open. The file read, Operation Silent Tide Undercover Recon. Target, Internal Military Intelligence Breach. Threat level, red dot. One of the agents glanced at her. Same approach. She nodded. Let them underestimate me again. They all smirked. And with that, Agent Amina Cole walked into her next mission. No fanfare. No applause, just her mind, and the quiet strength that changed everything. Final words. Amina never chased recognition. She chased results. They laughed at her. They judged her. They called her useless. But in the end, she was the one the president called.